A very pleasant good afternoon as we welcome you in to another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead Show here from Quaker Steak and Lube in State College. And, lots to get into today here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox. It's interesting because I've been reading through some of the headlines, Goon, and it is interesting to me, just the way different news outlets are different, and it may just be the headline writers themselves. Yesterday, I'm talking about, like I saw headlines like, in wake of playoff loss, Penn State loses defensive coordinator, and just made it sound like, oh man, what is going on at Penn State? Sounds like it's all falling apart.
Complete upheaval.
I think almost everyone following the program feels much better right now than they could have envisioned feeling about next season in the wake of the loss to Notre Dame. What Penn State is now returning, and we'll get to the announcements earlier today, and they are significant. It feels, and it's in a different way, and I understand that. I mean, Notre Dame, when it went all in, it was financially, we're all in for this season that they're playing in the national title game here Monday night. Ohio State went all in that way. Like, we're going to pay for the players that we want to get, and this isn't championship or bust type of season. I think Penn State is going all in a little different way. Financially, certainly a component to it, but they're not going all in the way Ohio State went all in financially. But they are going all in. And the buy-in that we've talked about it, Goon, the buy-in that this program has from its players, never more evident than you look at the guys that have decided to forego an opportunity to play in the NFL. And I get it. I get that the money involved here has changed the equation when it comes to NIL. And there's no question that is part of why both a Nicholas Singleton and a Katron Allen are coming back. Denied Dennis Sutton. If you didn't hear today, Nick Dawkins. Right on
Kobe
down the line.
King.
Yep.
All the boys.
So I think, but I think these guys also really are looking at it, and it's like, yep, I can make some money here, whatever that money is, and we have a chance to really carve out a very special place in our program's history next season. They've carved out a special place as it is, but they have a chance, and I think they know it, and I think that they feel like it was there for the taking this year, and they want to make sure they finish it off next season. That's what it feels like.
Couple things. In lieu of Desmond Howard insulting Ohio State and Herb Street backing up Ohio State, I'm just going to say this, and I feel as if this is the way it went for Penn State a little bit, and that is when Howard said, Ohio State bought their team, and Herbie got offended and said, no. They took care of the team that they had. They recruited and retained all of those players. And I think that is where we have been right now. We are retaining players that we know can play. That we know can play. We're not putting $1 million into a 17-year-old kid who has never touched a college football field at all. So I just want to put that up there as a talking point. But secondly, I do want to say this, and I could not wait to say this. You saw me chomping at the bit over here. I got Alan sitting to my right. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. You're old enough to remember January 3rd or 4th, 1986. Penn State had just come off a horrible loss in the Orange Bowl to an Oklahoma Sooner team, Brian Bosworth, Tony Casillas, Barry Switzer, that whole crew. Remember, that whole fifth-year senior class says, we have unfinished business. And they all came back. Donnie Graham, Shane Conlin, DJ Dozier, Chris Conlin, the line, Pete Giftopoulos, Bauer, Russo, all of these guys, Bobby White, were fifth-year seniors. who had a horrible taste in their mouth after losing an Orange Bowl to Oklahoma, and they said, you know what, we're all coming back. And I remember playing this day. Obviously, I was a young kid. You were young.
Yep.
But I remember my brother was on the team, so it was like one of those things. And I remember like it was yesterday, the excitement, like, oh, my God, here we're going to run it back. And I mean, this past Friday and Saturday and Sunday, I was frustrated, disappointed in that loss. Very much so. I still am, obviously. But with the news of all of these guys coming back, I mean, we had a quick 5-minute talk before the show here, and that was, dude, we've lost Tyler Warren on offense and Sale Wormley. I'm not going to count wide receivers after their performance in the last couple of weeks as they're going to any big losses. I mean, they're part of the team, obviously, yeah, but I'm just making a joke. But you're going to go out and get receivers. You have your 2 best running backs back. You have your whole offensive line back. You have to replace a tight end, which is a already deep room with 3 or 4 deep. You can see that.
Yes.
You can see that on Thursday night. We're throwing the backup tight ends out there when Tyler went out with a little bit of a head injury there. You had Dinkins going out there. You have younger guys in that making plays out there as tight ends. Defensively, you lose Tom Allen. I don't know why that happened. If it's a blessing in disguise? I know that there's different rumors. Did he want to leave? Was he asked to leave? I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't matter. He's gone. It's time to take the next step. But Kobe King coming back. I mean, yeah. And you got King Mack coming back from Alabama.
Yep.
But what a story that is. You have your whole pretty much Denny Dennis Sutton coming back, who was just going to take over after Abdul Carter. I mean, for as down as I was Friday and Saturday, even Sunday and Monday, I was still pretty down. But all these guys coming back, I'm not so frustrated with the loss right now because I know we're going to have a very good team next year, and this team is well led, like we had talked about all year. When Nick Dawkins says he's coming back, that means one thing: James Franklin doesn't have to say a freaking word to this team. This is going to be a self-policing team out there, in my opinion. It's going to be very reminiscent of the 1986 team. Maybe not so defensively led and offensively weak as that team, but a lot of older guys on the team, a very well-led team that who are angry, who want to right what went wrong last week and go back and get another shot and run for a national title next year. So my spirits are very, very high. So
I'm with you. And there's a bunch of directions we can go here. I also think Smith Milbert is not going to get the attention in terms of his return and the significance of it that the ones we've already mentioned are, and that's understandable. I am telling you, I think that is a huge announcement because that defensive line, obviously you're losing Abdul Carter and
we'll talk about him in a minute.
Yeah, you don't replace a guy like that, certainly easily, just as you don't replace Tyler Warren. But having a guy that has the experience and the leadership that Vilbert does to go along with Denai Dennis Sutton and some of the young studs that they have coming in, it just, I think it really helps just solidify the overall vibe for this team. And, what did we talk about? The difference maker this year in terms of why Penn State was able to take the next step, primarily, I think, was the depth, the overall depth in the program.
Yep.
I was listening a little bit
specifically offensive line. I'm not going to be selfish, but specifically there, we would have crumbled in years past if we lost our starting right tackle.
Yes. And Joe Ludnowski was talking a little bit on the program preceding ours here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox. He was talking about the impact that some of these guys have when it comes to the prospects for the future. And I think when you look at all of these guys, basically, all of the ones that you were hoping would return that had eligibility.
Aller too, yeah.
Yeah, yes, are coming back. I think that again speaks to the overall closeness of the team, but also to the mission that I think is clearly defined within the program. But I was listening to Joe Ladowski, and I don't think it was Joe. I think it was one of his guests, and they're like, well, they better win the Oregon game. Now all the pressure is on them. And we'll get into that a little bit. But if we learn nothing from Ohio State this season, it is that, no, that one game isn't going to define you. And I think, the James Franklin, it's been amusing to me. I'm consuming a lot of different media outlets. Really have been not checking out social media, just not my thing. I probably need to do a better job of monitoring it just with so I have a better idea of what's being said out
Jeff,
there.
don't do it.
But with the media, the quote unquote mainstream, the local media,
yep.
the general sentiment seemed to be that this was their chance, meaning this past season,
yep.
that was Penn State's chance. If James Franklin didn't get done, then come on, folks. I mean,
now,
is it really ever going to happen?
Were you talking before all these guys come back or just now?
Yep, last week.
Okay, yeah.
And so what is fascinating about that to me, and I think we talked about it last week, it's like, it may very well come about next year. That opportunity may come next year, or it might not come again. That's the thing with opportunity. You don't know when it is going to come again. Patrick Mahomes has talked about that. Like, he wants to seize each opportunity because he does seem to have the maturity to understand I might not get back here. Like, obviously, our goal is to get back here every year,
yep.
and I'm hoping to be back here 7, 8, 9, 10 more times. But, the Tom Brady career, very much the exception. And you don't know. And we don't know whether next season Penn State is going to be back in the Final Four and playing for a title or any of that. But what it feels to me now, Goon, is that this is setting up for, and Chris Buchanani, our cohort, Booch has been talking a good bit following the Notre Dame loss, talking specifically about Drew Aller and saying, John Schaefer coming off of that Orange Bowl against Oklahoma in '85.
Did he steal my thunder?
There were a lot of people that were pouncing on him. And, the Harrisburg Patriot News famously did the survey. And it's like, yep, Matt Kisner needs to be the starter. Well, Schaefer withstood all of that and, led the team to the national championship and maybe the most memorable season in Penn State football history. Again, nothing is guaranteed. There are so many moving parts just in college football in general. But Penn State is putting itself in very good position. When you look at these returners, another point that Joe Ladowski made was these rosters next year go down to 105. Now, they're all scholarship athletes. So that means there's some decisions that need to be made, and obviously that already have been made when you look at some of the departures here for Penn State. But they basically have to get rid of 20 guys overall. I mean, the roster will be reduced by 20 guys. Now, the money available there and the caliber of player that you may have all the way down to 105, obviously the hope is that a program like Penn State anyway, you're getting a little maybe higher caliber overall player throughout. That's why I think getting all of these players to return is a big deal. What is going to be interesting, they talked about the depth in that running back room. Well, how many of those guys now stay? I don't know. This is where I think sometimes people presume that these guys, man, if I can't be a 4-year starter or a 3-year starter,
crazy,
then forget about it. And in fairness, I mean, listen, there's other opportunities where they can be. What I think, and I'm not saying they're going to keep all 7 guys in the room. I'm not sure. I haven't sat down and looked at the overall roster management and how this is going to play out in terms of, all right, what are the numbers you're looking for as a coaching staff at each of these positions. So maybe 1 or 2 of these guys do leave. But I'm telling you, running back specifically is a position where I don't know that it is necessarily a bad thing to not get a lot of tread on the tires during the first year or two or even 3 years of your career. If you are part of a big-time program, and Penn State, make no mistake, is a big-time program. Exactly where you want to put them now, we can debate that, but unquestionably a top 10 program. Maybe now a top 5 program, 5-6 program nationally. There is something to be said. If you have NFL talent, to whether you get to showcase that ability just for a couple of years or whether it's for 4 years, to being able to show that, and also, yeah, you know what? I've got a lot of carries left in me as I make my way to the National Football.
That's the Miles Sanders.
Yep.
You know, he's the perfect example of that. He played backup to Saquon for two, maybe 3 seasons. He has the one big year at Penn State, gets drafted by the Eagles, plays for the Eagles. Now he's at Carolina or Chicago, one of the two. But there's a guy who does, running backs get beat up, man. I mean, at least the guys in college now are being reimbursed. Like, so go back to a guy like, I'm just making an example, Ron Dane.
Yeah.
Ron Dane took a lot of hits in college, because he, set the all-time record. Ricky Williams took a lot of hits in college, and he left early. But
Ricky Williams also took a lot.
Yeah, he took a lot of real other hits too. Yeah, but I mean, those guys. But definitely our running backs. I mean, specifically these 2 running backs, they've been neck and neck for the last 3 years. So they're going to go down, and they're not destroying their bodies by alternating carries pretty much. But again, I'm just going back to how excited I am for this season coming up now. I mean, I know it's we're only 6 days or 5 days away from this past season, but I like where we're going. Where I believe that what we're trying to do is, I think that, and I do want to get to the 105 stuff. I think we are retaining, and we're going with the Ohio State mold, and we're going to retain what we know is good. And we know that we can build these guys to win national titles. We're not going out at Texas A&M and LSU and spending $20 million on high school kids. God, I mean, it just baffles me and blows my mind saying it. But the fact that we have our team, we're keeping our team and retaining our team, and then making it worth their while that they're not going to test the waters. I mean, it's an old adage about Penn State. You got to come here, get the guys here, and they're not going to want to leave. It's just how Penn State is. For a regular student or an athlete, I mean, come to Penn State, you're going to love it. I don't care what you are, who you are. You're going to have a good time at Penn State. You will not want to leave. And now we're making it financially accessible. Like, we're competitive financially with other teams where our guys are going to stay, because there's no way Allen and Singleton should not be going to the NFL. None. Other than that, it's a good chunk of change they're going to get here. They're proven, and they feel that they have some unfinished business here. So my question to you, Jeff, is the 105. Do you think this is going to hurt? I think the core, as a whole, it will hurt college football, because you're going to want 105 guys. You're not going to want to. I mean, you're not a walk-on here. I mean, maybe it's changed, because there was a lot more walk-ons before, but you're down to 105 right now, and that's all scholarship players. You're going to want guys who can actually play. We have a couple of walk-ons who might play their 4th year, might get a 5th year, 4th, be a 2-year starter, possibly. But now you're going to go out. Do you go out and hit the MAC route, go down to the, to some different conferences and start offering guys and saying, hey, you want to come up here and play? You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, do you feel that? Does James Franklin say, you know what, we got 7 walk-ons in this team that we're going to give scholarships to now? Or is he like, well, we need 105 guys who could play now?
I do wonder. Weird. And I don't know this, but
I believe it's going to hurt the health of college football.
I wonder how many kids are going to have discussions, at least, with these big-time programs where, a James Franklin says, listen, we can't, we think you are going to be terrific. We just don't have available money. If you go to pick a school or a group of schools, we will keep an eye on you and maybe check in with us in a year or two. I'm not even sure what is or isn't allowed in terms of those conversations, But I wonder how much of that now will go on, where guys that you might have given preferred walk-on say, "Hey, we don't have a scholarship to give you."
Well, just
we'd
say
love it
Dom
if you came
DeLuca.
here. Yep.
Dom DeLuca's case, just put that in perspective.
Yep.
There's a kid who probably deserved the scholarship, but he tore his knee up his senior year, was a preferred invited walk-on, earned his scholarship the last year. He's going to end up being a 3-year captain on this team. That's not going to happen in the future. You're not going to have that. And that's a little bit of me is going to miss that, but I understand. But I do want to know, I would like to know. I mean, how many questions have we had in the last 2 years when it comes to the NIL and now it's going to be profit sharing and it's going to be all the other crap. This 105, how do we get to 105? But okay, so Northern Illinois. So the point I'm trying to get at is the 85 scholarship that they put in 10, 15 years ago expanded college football that was more competitive. There was better players at, say, a MAC school or in some of the what's the Southern school where there's so many different conferences now or little conferences. But I always use the MAC.
Sun Belt.
The NIU is not beating Notre Dame coming forward because they are not going. Those guys are going to be offered scholarships to Notre Dame, to Michigan. You know what I mean? Like their best players, I think. How are we going to get to 105? Is it going to be rookies, freshmen coming in, or is it going to be imports coming in from lesser conference that we go out and recruit to move up a conference or a division? It's strange. It's weird. It's tampering, in my opinion. But I know everybody is doing it. But I would like to know how we are going about how teams, not just Penn State teams, how are they going about getting that 105? Are they going to offer their 15 extra scholarship, their walk-ons, say, hey, you know what, we love you, you're a team guy, we got faith in you, here's a scholarship? Or do they say, let's go down to the MAC and find 10 guys in the MAC and say, hey, you want to come and play at Penn State? But then we're doing that, Michigan's doing that, Ohio State's doing that, Notre Dame's doing that. The MAC is going to get completely wronged. The Troys, the Appalachian states, the coastal Carolinas, they're going to get pilfered down south, in my opinion, to fill out these 105s. Or do you think it's going to be high school kids?
It's going to be all of the above and then some. And it's going to, different schools are going to handle it different ways. There's all kinds of as there's always been, right? There's always been different approaches to, all right, this is how we're going to create a successful program. And we've seen some even now. It's like, yep, we're going all in on the transfer portal, bring in as many, Colorado's route and clean house, and we're bringing all new guys in that have experience somewhere else. I think most schools most successful programs are kind of settling on we want to try to identify talent coming out. Really, it's just like the NFL. Most of those teams, your preference is, man, we want to draft guys that come in, we cultivate,
get them cheap for a couple of years.
Then they stay with us, and we develop a team that way. Well, no NFL team obviously just has homegrown talent, and I think in college football it's going to be much the same way. Like you're going to want to identify as many big time players and get them right out of high school as you can. But it's going to fluctuate, I think, year to year, and it's certainly going to fluctuate program to program as to, all right, how many transfers are we willing to take in a given year? And again, there may be circumstances that, a team that normally, we will do 5 or 6 a year. Hey, this year, welcome in. We're taking 30. We're taking 40. We'll take as many as we can get. It's going to be a situational thing as well. I think for Penn State right now, it is all about wide receivers. Hello, big time wide receivers. We've got room for you, and that really is the issue, right? Right now, it feels like everything else is pretty solid. You might quarrel here or there with, I think they could upgrade this spot or that spot, but they're pretty solid right now with what we know is coming back. They're pretty solid everywhere, save for wide receiver. wide receiver is a huge concern right now. And I know they got a couple of guys coming in that it certainly does not feel like they have their long-term solution or even short-term solution, that their guy that is going to be the difference maker next season.
Yeah, man, that hurts. That really hurt Thursday night watching all that. And, with the 50 million people watching that game, you can't tell me that the high school kids weren't watching that going, maybe I got a shot at Penn State if I'm a wide receiver.
Well, and that's what I think is going to be interesting is can they – I mean, it sure feels like that's a great selling point. Hey, we have an NFL caliber quarterback. We have an innovative offensive coordinator that, knocking on wood, I think is sticking around. We have, a great offensive line, a great running back core, great tight end room. You could be the guy that gets us over the top and be the featured receiver. That seems like it'd be a pretty good selling point.
Yeah, I can offer Alan Weiser that position right now for what happened Thursday night. 0 catches, 0 yards. It cannot happen.
In today's age of college football,
cannot happen.
Really, it is almost impossible to believe that could happen. Especially, and I know you had a bad game and all of that, but
help him
when
out.
You have a quarterback like Drew Aller, how is it even possible that a college football team, any college football team, in a semifinal game gets 0 receptions from its wide receiver? Like it's like truly not believable. Like unbelievable in the genuine.
I can't fathom it. I still can't fathom it. I still can't believe it happened. I still can't believe it was like that. We knew this going into the season, though, that was going to be the weak point. But to be exploited that bad on that big of a show, aka being the Final Four game, and the whole country sitting there saying, "How can a Division I team go out there and not have a wide receiver make a catch?" And it wasn't like they weren't being thrown to. We threw the ball close to 30 times. 25 times or something like that. We were out there throwing the ball. But again, we go back to August this year. We were talking about that was the fear in for this team is having a receiver. We got Fleming last year out of Ohio State. Everybody thought that was going to be, he's going to be this and he's going to be that, and he turned out being just exactly what he was at Ohio State. A good downfield blocker, made a couple catches throughout the year, but he's not a number one. Yeah. We just need to go and get that one. We got a bevy of 2s. Possibly 3 slot guys. Yeah. We need to go out and get a 1. And I'm not talking go out there and get Jerry Rice and trying to find Jerry Rice and pay him $65 million. Well, that would be fantastic, but there still is. So to go back to my point earlier, and that is that we do know the direction we're going now, and that is taking care of the guys on the team right now and keeping this team together is where our NIL directions are going. So it would be interesting to see where our 105 is going. Having seen how we're retaining our players, we can tell how our NIL is being dealt with. So, I just want to see how the 105 will be dealt with, and and then I do have to say too. These guys saying they're coming back, they might get an offer in July. I don't know. I don't know, and I don't think anybody knows the validity of any. Is it a 1-year contract that these guys just signed to say that they're coming back? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Are they guaranteed to be here in August? Or is it like, hey, as of right now, I don't have a better offer. I'm staying. I'm going to stay here. Or are there actual physical contracts out there that these guys have signed that keeps them here for the next season? I don't know, and that scares me a little bit, not knowing.
Yep. All right, we're going to take a timeout here. We are back with much more on the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here for a Tuesday afternoon.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds millions of other tempting things. Great times, great food. Get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food. Get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing of State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates, Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
Get up and get going with the Happy Valleys 98.7 The Fox. The Goon and Ironhead.
And we are back here at Quaker Steak and Lube on a Tuesday afternoon. The all-you-can-eat wing buffet gets underway right as we go off the air. How convenient at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Great place to come on down and watch your favorite college basketball teams, your NHL teams, your NBA if you're into that sort of thing. And, of course, we have the NFL playoffs, and Monday night there will be a national championship game. Who are you rooting for, Goon? I am struggling with this one. Like, I like Marcus Freeman, but Notre Dame and Ohio State, I mean, this is like the Ravens versus the Cowboys in a Super Bowl for me. Fortunately, I don't ever have to worry about that. But Notre Dame, Ohio State, this is like a miserable choice for Penn State fans. Miserable.
What
do you choose?
If it was that team up north and Notre Dame, I have an issue. I don't have a problem rooting for conference when it's Ohio State. Personally, I just can't. I can never root for the U of M. So
yeah,
I mean the Notre Dame thing is.
I grew up Michigan against Bama. I had no problem there.
I don't know. I guess I did because I had people on the Michigan team that I knew and stuff like that. But it just hurts it's just painful to root for them. But I don't know. I mean, you know my theory. I mean, my feeling on those two teams, and they're both scumbag dirty, Ohio State and Michigan, and one just tries to hide it, aka Michigan, and tries to act like they're above and everybody else because they're Michigan men, and the other team, Ohio State, doesn't care. They're just like, yeah, we are where we are. We're dirty, grimy, and we win games. Bottom line. So I don't really have a problem rooting for Ohio State because I want to root for conference, obviously, and then not having to go home and listen to Notre Dame people talk about waking up the echoes and the light and all that crap. I mean, I've heard enough of that since Thursday, obviously. So, yeah. I mean, going through the game in my head multiple times, and it was there so many different times to have it. I mean, 4 or 5 opportunities in the second half alone, just to not to win it, but just to put it out of reach / finish it. When Denny Sutton had that freaking interception, I was like, "Oh my God, here we go! It's on! It's time!"
Yep.
That was the scene, and that was quickly overtaken by the interception late in the game, being like, "Well, that was the biggest interception of that game." And then let's not kid ourselves. I mean, people were like, "Oh, Aller played bad," and like I said, there and blame the kid. I mean, it is what it is. Everybody has an off day and stuff like that, and he and we did get bailed out 2 times with end zone interceptions. I mean, they were absolutely huge calls, and thank God we got them.
I think they were both.
They were
right calls. Though.
Yeah, I mean, the people were complaining about the pass interference on Warren. I'm like, they just made the same call against Kobe King out there because he was face guarding. He was not making a play on the ball. He was looking directly at the player, and there was a contact. Yeah. So that's the rule. That's the law. That is the rule. That is why there was a flag. So people complain about that. But people say on the first interception in the first half when he underthrew a fade that, he saw that there was going to be a hold out there. Come on, there's no way he saw that there was going to be a hold. But again, we got bailed out there. So there was a couple opportunities where we had gotten bailed out. Yeah. But looking back on it, it was there for the taking, and that is what's going to be in these guys' heads. Again, I go back to the 85 Orange Bowl and, being close to that team because of my brother. And that was unfinished business. And this is like those guys are saying what we're saying right now as a team are saying exactly what those guys in 1986 were saying. It's unfinished business. It's a bad taste in our mouth. We want one more shot at it. Now, don't get me wrong. I said it before. A little easier to stay in college when you're making the kind of money these guys are going to be making when they're not really – some of them aren't going to make this in the NFL. I just saw a thing that Carson Beck's $4 million deal to go play for Miami. He will make more money than the 7 rookie quarterbacks that got drafted last year. So why the hell wouldn't you stay in college? Other than getting one year towards your retirement and pension. But, hey, take a quarter of your earnings next year and put in a little savings pocket there. That'll take a hold of that 1 year of retirement you're missing from the NFL pension. So, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit easier for these guys to stay, I think. Financially, it's a little bit easier. It makes it, it doesn't make it so hard to say, you know what, I got to go, I got to go help my family out. I need to move on. I got to do this. We got something going on at the house, at home. My dad's not working. My mom's deceased or something like that. So it's a little bit easier, but the similarities are just uncanny right now to what they were saying in 80, or January 86 and to today. I love the unfinished business thing. And, I went and I said it all year, how well these guys are, they're team driven, they're team led. And I wonder if there was like a private meeting, because there was a private meeting after that 85 Orange Bowl amongst the guys. And it was like, I'm staying, who the hell else is with me? So I wonder if these guys got together, post game, having a few beers at the hotel and stuff like that and saying, you know what? I got a horrible damn taste in my mouth because that was our game. Because that's my feeling on these guys. And I told you after the Ohio State game, some of the players were saying, like, we didn't feel like we couldn't beat this team. And I know that they're feeling that about Notre Dame. I absolutely know they feel that about Notre Dame and that game, that they lost that game.
Well, all 3 losses, I think.
They were in them all. They had their chances, and they were all there. So I think that they're sitting there and saying, you know what? And I love it. I mean, we got lucky. Let's not kid ourselves. James is doing it. He's recruiting good kids. These guys they're not mercenaries. They're not going to Texas A&M for a year and leaving. You know what I mean? It's a damn good program we're running right now that guys want to stay here. I mean, that's all that needs to be said. People can give James all the crap he wants of being 1-15 against top 5 teams. not that many guys who were knocking off top 5 teams on the reg. I mean, there was the 80s when Joe did it 4 or 5 or 6, or I don't know how many times he did it, but he also had 4 national championship teams in that 9-year decade or 10-year decade.
I also, again, you can choose to look at stuff glass half full, glass half empty, whatever. I would also say what was truly amazing in some of those games is that Penn State was competitive. Some of those games, now there's others where it's like, yeah, there were some coaching decisions, some miscues down the stretch. It's like, oh my gosh, you let a game that you had slip away. And while, I think generally speaking, in most of those games, the overall roster favored the opponent, I do think there were a couple of games where Penn State at least felt like it was even talent-wise and still let the game slip away. But I also, there were some games, I mean, obviously the 2016 win over Ohio State, where nobody saw that one coming. I'm not even sure deep down in that Penn State locker room, they really believed before the game kicked off that, yep, we're probably going to win this one over the Buckeyes. And I think, there were a couple other games there with Ohio State in particular where it's like, ooh, I mean, this substantially favors one side of the field. And, you're not getting any credit for keeping it close, but you probably ought to get some credit in some of those cases. Again, the record is what it is, and it also includes, again, over the last 3 years, a program that just takes care of business every single time. And there just aren't many programs that can say that. Notre Dame can't say that. Alabama can't say that. Georgia can't say that. So, again, I take it for what it's worth. Ohio State can't say. I mean, I'm sorry, Michigan, that roster this year had no business being even competitive with Ohio State, let alone winning that game.
Our 3 losses. One, you can blame the offense against Ohio State. It didn't show up. It was not there. They needed to make plays and didn't happen.
Yep.
The Oregon, we needed our defense to step up and make some stops because we were scoring points that game. That didn't happen. That Notre Dame loss is all around. That was a team loss.
Yep.
It was no. You can't blame the offense. You can't blame the defense because defense. I mean, offensively, yes, they had some bad plays and this and that, but defensively, you get 24 points in the second half. And you're not coming back from that. It's pretty much allowing 48 points in a game. That's too much. You can't do that in that type of big game. So, there's a lot of blame that goes around in that game, and maybe that's why a lot of these guys, it wasn't just like, well, the offense sucks and the defense stinks and, well, that cost us, or Drew Aller cost us, or James Franklin. There's a lot of blame to go around who lost that game. And it was a team loss, and it's the bottom line.
I think that's fair. And again, the opportunities were there. It's as you said. To me, that one, the Notre Dame game, really came down to execution by the players. I think the coaches put those guys in position to go win the game. And as you said, it's not like you can sit and point. Nicholas Singleton dropped a ball that could have been the difference maker. Well, you're going to get on Singleton because no. Now, that was certainly not a perfectly thrown ball.
That was a tough catch.
It
would be very tough catch.
But it's a catch that if you're trying to win a championship, you got to make that.
Well, I mean, I got to ask you this question, honest up, straight up. I mean, this was my question.
And again, there are all kinds
we
of
can sit here for
the championship teams. We would say you got to make.
We can sit here until August every day and going over a quarter. So this is the issue I had. And, talking to some former players, and this is what we've come to, and that was, no. Again, this is not blaming one person or one facet of the game. But what in that game made Kotelnicki think that, okay, we need to run a 2-minute drill right here? With 47 seconds to go in the game, you ran the ball, you got 13 yards, the clock stops, timeout, ready to go. What in that game happened between Drew Aller and those wide receivers where he sat there and said, yes, we got this. We need to go downfield. We need to press these wide receivers. And, the play in itself was okay, I guess, but Drew he did some stuff on that play and a lot of guys, if you watched the replay of it, McElroy made a pretty good point, and the receiver bowed instead of cutting, in snapping the route off.
Yeah.
But also Drew ran into that pressure. He bled. If you watch it, there's a great pocket there. The left guard is just sitting there, and as an offensive lineman, your back is to the quarterback. You do not see.
Yeah.
You have you would call it like a homer in your back of your head, like a feeling, the feel of the pocket. You know that if you're back 4 yards, you're in the pocket. So, if our left guard is sitting there blocking a 3 technique, and he's blocking, and this guy bleeds outside, you're not going to go chase that guy. You're forming that pocket.
Yeah.
And what Drew did is he bled left right into that 3 technique pressure and took that hit, tried to throw it across his body. There was two things right there. You don't bleed, and 2 is you don't throw across the middle. Now, at that point of the game, is that a coached thing that should have been like, hey, do not, throw it away if there's any pressure. Do not try and force anything. Because again, I'm just going to sit here and we're going to complain about this and talk about the good and bad. This is overtime. They were not stopping the run. It wasn't happening. We would have given the ball to Katron and the Singleton, and we've been in the end zone every time we had the ball. The 2 times that we would have needed touchdowns. The 2-point conversions, we would have been doing it. I don't know why we risked it. It harked back to the Rose Bowl loss when Trace threw that ball instead of just throwing it away, tried to throw it downfield, interception, return, kick, touchdown, game over. Or kick, field goal, game over. Instead of just playing for the overtime. That was my feeling Friday morning is what the hell were we thinking that Drew was going to do with these wide receivers that they had not done for 49 minutes and 20 seconds. Or 59 minutes and 20 seconds. The last 40 seconds of that game, it was one of those things. Everything was slow motion from, that whole fourth quarter was like, oh man. And, what were your emotions like, going up and down, interception, return, a cornerback falls down. They walk in with an easy touchdown. Like, oh my God, what else can go wrong? We intercept the pass. We tie the game up. We stopped them on a.
Yeah, to be honest, I would have been very upset if they just played for overtime. I literally angry because the whole Penn State mentality has been we are going to be aggressive.
Yeah.
And
I'm okay with that.
Defense that is susceptible. And Notre Dame, if they just sat there and took the knees and went to overtime, Notre Dame had the momentum. Notre Dame's riding the wave of momentum. You have more faith than I do. I'm not saying it wouldn't have played out the way you're saying that Penn State just would have been unstoppable. I'm not sure I'm completely buying that. And I will tell you, the fan base, had Penn State just taken a knee and, all right, let's go to overtime, and they lose that game in the first overtime, I guarantee you that we'd still be hearing it today. But James Franklin played to win the game.
But I would just sit there and say, why?
To try to give it to tie, and by doing that, you gave Notre Dame the victory. It would have been. And by the way, I would have. I don't understand why you had 47 seconds to work with. You have Drew Aller, supposedly an NFL caliber quarterback. Why are you not trying to go win the game? You have.
Yes,
why
I understand that, but when you don't have a catch at your wide receiver, what would have in your mind? What would have said? Oh, because if you say, "Oh, James, he should have gone for it, not played for overtime," and then you see the stats in the game, and there's not one catch for a wide receiver. All your passing yards were to your tight ends and your running backs. So I would understand if he knelt the ball, but just hand the ball off again. You just ripped off 13.
Well,
you had timeouts.
You're down to 47.
But then the other bottom line is that's a coaching thing. Do not throw across the middle, especially late in the game in a 2-minute drill. Ground the ball, throw it away, live to play the next play. And I'm okay with them going after it, but again, what did those receivers do to think that they were going to have a successful 2-minute drill? And if it wasn't there and he did feel the pressure, throw the ball in the 15th row, it was just a bad mistake, and that's what it was. It was a mistake. It wasn't like he played a horribly bad game. It was a mistake. Everybody makes them. It's a learnable mistake. He was going to learn from that. You recall Ohio State game last year, 2 seasons ago. when he was on the sidelines, distraught at how bad he had played, that was the same kid we saw Saturday afternoon or Thursday night. It was the same kid we saw after that game. And that was the improvement that he made from that Ohio State game 2 seasons ago until this season, 1 season ago till this season, was unbelievable. And if that's what it takes, and you learn by losing and stuff like that, that's fine. I'm completely on board with that. But that was a avoidable mistake that he made. It goes on to the coaching. It goes, I guess, O'Brien, Kotelnicki. I mean, and then Drew has to know that you don't throw that ball like that. But with that said, he's trying to make a play. I could sit here. We can sit here and play up and down all we want. I mean, we could do this again. We could do this every Tuesday and Thursday until August, until next season starts, which we probably might be doing. But it was a frustrating play again. But no one is more frustrated than Drew Aller, Andy Kotelnicki, James Franklin, and the rest of our team and the rest of our program. It was a frustrating loss. I think Joel Klatt, I can't believe I'm freaking agreeing with Joel Klatt. I did call him Joel this time, not Trent, the old Flyer, by the way. And that he said that wasn't a bad loss. It was a heartbreaking loss. And that's what it was. It's just pulling at the heartstrings. Drew Aller's in class yesterday. He started class Monday morning. So he's ready to go. And they're working out already. And I'm telling you right now, this loss will lead to bigger things next season.
It could. I'm not ready to make the pronouncement that it definitively will. There's, it is going to be interesting because I think next year I think Oregon's going to be a top 5 program preseason. I'm talking about. I think Ohio State is going to be top 5 preseason. I think Penn State likely now is going to be top 5 or 6 preseason. I think Michigan is going to be top 10 preseason. Like those 4, I haven't really sat down and looked. I don't know enough about what Indiana has coming back or what all's transpiring there to know kind of where that they're going to be projected. But those 4 schools are going to be powerhouses, at least projected powerhouses next year. So, listen, I think Penn State is clearly going all in here on we want to bring home a title in this 2025 campaign. And I think that's great, and I think they have a real shot. I also I don't think, even with everybody they have coming back, that you're sitting here saying I'm not sure they get back to the Big Ten championship game. Now, could you go win a national title without getting the Big Ten championship game? Well, yeah.
Can you go to the playoff with 2 losses?
I think go do it. A lot of things that still have to play out, but it is going to be a grind in the Big Ten. And you still have Oregon, you still have Ohio
we had
State.
a favorable schedule. Indiana had a favorable schedule. We had a very favorable schedule in the playoffs. So, a lot of things got to work out next year. Even if you do lose Ohio State and Oregon, you're not guaranteed to get in the playoff because 2 lost teams. You may only have, you may have 8 1-loss teams next year, or however, 5 conference winners. Do you think there's going to be any changes for this? Can they change next year's lineup or anything like that?
Heather Dinich said it's so there's conflicting stories out there. Some people are like, that'll definitely change. I think Chris Fowler said, he's expecting it to change. Heather Dinich said it could. I'm not saying it can't, but it's a little more unlikely than what folks are making it sound like because they need, according to Dinich, they need unanimous agreement. Well, if you think the ACC and the Big 12 are like, yeah, let's go ahead and put our champion wherever you want so that we can get more SEC and Big 10 schools up in that top 4 or 6 seeds, I don't think that's happening. So
one's going to come out and say, well, you guys don't have any power, so shut up.
My guess is that it will stay the same for next year.
And that's a conference title game, by the way, too.
Yeah, I don't think that's as big of a deal as what people are making it out to be. I just read, and it's by somebody I really like and really respect, but he's like, this 12-team playoff we need to get rid of immediately because it rendered the 2 biggest upsets of the season meaningless. And I think he was talking about the Northern Illinois win over Notre Dame and then Michigan's win over Ohio State. And he pointed out that, and he was using this, and I would actually go the other way with this, but his contention was 12-team playoff is clearly a failure because you have two teams who didn't even play in a conference championship playing for the national title. And if you use that logic, well, then no wild card team in the NFL or in Major League Baseball would ever win a World Series. 5 teams, went and looked it up, 5 teams have won Super Bowls. This is just since 2000. This isn't all time. This is since 2000. 5 teams have won Super Bowls without winning their division. Well, does that mean that the NFL playoffs, they're garbage? It's a failed system?
Yep.
And there are some that probably would. Well, yes. And baseball especially. There's people that, well, yeah, you should win your pennant. That should be the only way you're in. Fine. You can have that opinion. I think it makes it great. I think the fact that you still have a chance to go win a national title, whether you win your conference or your division, I like that. I think that, we're a country of second chances. I like the second chances.
Well, Jeff,
I like getting the opportunity.
On a personal basis, you look at my 1993 Penn State team. We lose to Michigan, losing to Ohio State our first year in the Big Ten. There was not a hotter team in this country than us at the end of that season. And if we had gotten into that playoff, I guarantee you we would have made things happen. You're getting rid of that, is what they're saying. We want to go back to that? No, we don't. I love what happened this year.
Yes, I am with you. And listen, to Notre, do I think Notre Dame should have been in this year? Yes. It was a horrible loss to Northern Illinois. Inexplicable at the end of the day. It really is. But give me a break. The way Notre Dame played from that point on, I get that the schedule wasn't great, all of that. Come on. That's a team that deserved a shot, and I think they deserved that shot.
They were 5 in the rank, right?
Yes.
Okay, so honest to God, they wouldn't have been in the playoff.
Correct.
But there's no way in hell the national media is not going to 11-1 Notre Dame team into that.
I think they would have, because the committee would sit there and tell you that loss, if we had.
So who would we have had? Oregon?
Format, yep.
Texas. Well, Georgia beat Texas.
Yeah.
Georgia beat Texas. So, and then Texas was 3, and then Penn State was 4.
Yep.
Do you think they would have been? Oh, I don't know about that. I think that we would have gotten screwed. It's the way the NCAA would have worked. The media would have screwed us. They would have screwed us.
I don't think so, because of again, Northern Illinois was, not just a bad loss. Again, if you had the 4-team format, Notre Dame would not have been one of the 4 teams with the committee, with the criteria that they used. It would not have been.
Over
anyways,
a Penn State team that lost to Ohio. That's what it would have come down to.
Probably. Moving forward, again, looking ahead a little bit to next year. So like I said, I think Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon from the Big Ten. I think Georgia's going to be right up there again, probably in the top 3. Preseason I'm talking about, and I think you're not going to have a lot of difference, I guess, from the end of the season polling this year to what next season polls are going to look like. Yeah, although Texas is losing a ton of talent now. NIL and transfer portal changes everything.
Correct.
And I think they have their quarterback for next year, so I think that they'll be in very good shape. But what is going to be interesting to me is over the next few years. So again, there are folks out there that are already, this is a failed system. We only needed 1 year to see that it's a failed system. I think just the opposite. First of all, the idea that it's a failed system if you don't have a conference champion winning the national title or in the national title game. That just makes no sense.
That's the whole point of a playoff. Isn't it the definition of a playoff?
All the time. That's what makes the playoffs exciting. If you want to just, there's a reason that we don't just crown a champion based on regular season results in any of these sports. If we did, the New England Patriots would have won another title and would have been undefeated, but it would have taken away all of the drama of the playoff. Like we want, and I think rightfully, it's to be a championship team, you need to go through the playoff grind. That is part of it. The regular season is step one, and then the postseason is step two. In any sport, so that just makes no sense to me, that the pronouncements that this is a failure. And I don't even have a problem, and I'm in the minority here, and I understand that, and I'm okay with that. I really don't have a problem with the 4 conference champions being given the top 4 seeds. Now, I also don't think it's the end of the world if, hey, we just want to take the top 4 ranked teams and make them the top 4 seeds. I'm okay with that, but I don't think it's any kind of crazy injustice in the world has gone mad because we had a Boise State in there as a 3 seed this year. Like I'm more than okay with
Don't
that.
get rid of the home
think
games.
that's
All I'm
the end of
asking,
the
Ironhead.
world.
Change what you want. Don't get rid of the home games.
Yeah, so I do think if we're talking about how to change it, I would like to go to the 16-team format. I have advocated the 16-team format since the early 1980s when I was in, junior high probably. And I used to draw up. It's like, oh, man, if this was a 16-team playoff, this is what it would look like and how fun it would be. So I think we should go to the 16-team playoff. For one thing, you would avoid the untenable position, I think, that you're putting administrations in of, do we really want our team to be ranked number 1 or 2, or do we really want them to be ranked down there at 5 so that we can get that home game revenue and build a little momentum? And I think, it's a legitimate debating point because of the results of this year. And again, it's a 1-year sample size. I understand, but none of the top 4 seeds got into the semifinals. That's, to me, not insignificant. So I think you take that out of the equation. If you go to 16 teams, the 8 top seeds all have home games. You get that opportunity. You get to keep, everything is relatively even from a competitive balance standpoint in terms of the number of games played, number of weeks off, number of days off would be within 1 anyway.
Give me that conference title.
And so I think that is what's going to eventually happen. Not next year, but I think sooner rather than later, that is where we get to. We're going to take a break here. I do want to there's been a lot of talk. I don't see – I guess never say never. I see minuscule possibilities of a few things that folks are projecting as possibilities for the defensive coordinator spot here at Penn State. We'll pick up on that on the other side of this timeout. You're listening to the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here from Quaker Steak Lube in State College.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing of State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
WFXS, Hunting Gas.
Your sports radio. Broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA's Sports Authority. WFXS America.
98.7 The Fox. State College. The Goon and Ironhead.
And we are back as I finish up my my lunch here at Quaker Steak and Lube.
We'll finish your lunch. We'll talk about the Philadelphia Eagles here a little bit. You know, let's talk about those Pittsburgh Steelers.
Playoff.
Playoffs. You made the playoffs again, Jeff.
Brutal.
6 straight years.
Just brutal.
I am going to say, though, I got to give it to my Yinzer friends. Not one of you expected anything.
No.
Not one of you. Even those diehard crazy ones, they didn't expect much.
Nope. Sometimes you do know what's coming. And it was pretty obvious what was coming.
Honest to God, here's my feeling. I mean, if you want to go down this route, we can. And that was at halftime, what was it, 21-0? I think that if it got worse than that, 35-42-0, I think the change would have been made. In some strange way, I think them scoring those 2 touchdowns so that the team had not quit on Mike Tomlin as of yet. But I don't know, that's just a bad performance out there. That didn't look good. I mean, I was talking to Alan and Jeff off the air, and I said, when the Eagles parted ways with Andy Reid, it was just a stagnant atmosphere there, very stagnant. It was like, he was still a great coach. Actually, I still cheer for the guy. Obviously, he doesn't play the Eagles, but you still cheer for the guy because he did so much for Philadelphia, and like Mike Tomlin has done so much for Pittsburgh. But there are times when you need to move on, or you need to blow it up and say we got to change this thing a little bit. And he hasn't. They have not blown it up. Have they blown it up? No, right? And I mean, you're okay losing six. You're going to the playoffs, and that's the other thing about the Andy Reid thing. Is I made that mention to somebody, and we'll say Andy Reid had a 4-12 season. Mike Tomlin is still a playoff. He's still coaching playoff caliber teams. But I got one stat the other day. Who was the highest paid defense in the NFL?
Steelers.
The Steelers are the highest paid defense in the league, and I believe that they have the lowest paid offense. Now, I take that into account because your quarterback is being paid by another team, I think. I think that's why the number was so skewed. But you have the highest paid defense out there. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. There were some guys who didn't even show up the other night, it looked like to me.
Well, it is. I don't know that's the case. But I think when you look at I think overall, you can just boil it down to quarterback. are there other issues? Yes. I mean, the offensive line and all of that. But lo and behold, when the Steelers had Ben Roethlisberger, they were winning playoff games. They were winning Super Bowls. When they had Terry Bradshaw, they were winning Super Bowls. Can you get there without the franchise quarterback? Yeah, you can. I mean, Neil O'Donnell got there. But it is tough. It's just, Penn State desperately needs a wide receiver. But, and more ideally, a couple of wide receivers. But the argument that they can't get there without them was just, I mean, we just saw evidence that it's not an absolute must because they were a field goal away. Now, you could argue, well, if they had the receiver, maybe, probably. But also, if Drew Aller makes a better decision and doesn't make a crucial mistake in a crucial moment, they may have won that game without a receiver and been playing for the national championship. So I'm all in on, they've got to find a one receiver. And that room overall has to be upgraded substantially next year. But also, again, to me, they just showed. It's just like Penn State Wrestling. The fans have been, 125. Well, yeah, they're winning national titles, though, like year after year. I'm with you. Coaches are with you. Everybody wants a national champion 25-pounder too, but, they have to find it. Well, they don't have to. They keep winning national titles without it. Now, the Steelers are going to the playoffs, but not winning any playoff game. But the quarterback is just such a crucial part of it. And yeah, the defense, struggled at the end. I don't know. I'm reading all kinds of things on TJ Watt, whether multiple injuries, whatever. He's not making excuses, and that's fine. Something clearly, and I don't think it was his motivation, went awry there down the stretch. And I find it hard to believe that it was just the offensive schemes against him. That's what he's been kind of attributing it to. And he's taking ownership, and I got to find ways to make plays and all of that. And that's fine. That's great. I think there was more going on, and reading from some of the insiders, it sure seems like there was more going on. But so they need to get more from the defense too, especially in the big games down the stretch and all of that. But I really do think it comes down to finding a quarterback. And I think the Steelers did everything they could in this past offseason. I think they recognize it. It's just hard to get. It's like, well, yeah, go get that. Go get the next Jeremiah Smith if you're Penn State. Well, where are we supposed to get that guy? Yeah, Steelers, just go get your next franchise quarterback. Well, okay, but we don't have a top 10 pick, and how exactly are you going to get those guys? It's like, hey, Patrick Mahomes, come on over and play for Pittsburgh. Well, why would I do that? Wow, we're good guys. We really like to have you. I mean, it doesn't quite work like that. So, listen, is Conlin's message stay in the locker room? I don't know. I know that's the prevailing sentiment, and it may be right. The players don't seem to be saying that. Now, maybe it's just they feel obligated to support their coach. That's their coach, and all of that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough of the dynamics. I do think Mike Tomlin's an underrated coach, underrated by Steelers fans I'm talking about. But, maybe it is time for a change. I don't know. I don't think a coaching change in and of itself answers the Steelers' problems. Like, I don't think if you brought Andy Reid in next year that, okay, now the Steelers are going to go out and just win a bunch of playoff games. They have to find a quarterback. And again, 5 weeks ago, I would have told you, I think they found it. I think short term, not their franchise. Here we go. The next decade's taken care of. But 5 weeks ago, I would have been pretty comfortable. And yeah, Russell Wilson shown enough. He's progressed enough as the season went along. Be happy to have him back next year. But man, and I'm not putting this on Wilson by any stretch, but it is hard to think now with what we saw in the final 5 games of the season that, that's the guy that you definitively want leading that offense next year.
When I say stale with Andy Reid, I feel like the inmates knew what they could get away with. I'll throw 2 names at you: LaShawn McCoy and Deshaun Jackson. They were running all over Andy Reid because they knew what they could get away with. I think Tomlin has lost a lot of the locker room with how he deals with these wide receivers, who obviously are a problem and have been. This is what Pickens is the 3rd or 4th guy who's actually been problems like this, and I think that they realize, okay, well, they're not going to do anything drastic to them, so why would they change their ways? I'm not trying to fight, not trying to insult. From the outside looking in, why does it keep happening to that same program with the same type of receiver? Because they know that they're not going to get punished, they're not going to get fined, they're not going to get suspended. The coach ain't going to call them out. The coach, we'll deal with it inside. They know what they're going to get. I mean, how Pickens played this year is out of control. I mean, that's just ridiculous. It's like, I mean, I'm watching
have that talent and have that lack of production, that lack of leadership.
Now, with that said, now watching the Eagles game on Sunday, I'm sitting there watching A.J. Brown on the sideline reading a book, going, what in the hell is going on here? And I'm like sitting there and I'm like, all right, there's something wrong here. That's just him. He's complaining he's not catching the ball, and the media is going off on it. And then somebody comes out and says, no. This is the Cincinnati game. He had 15 targets, 11 catches, 2 touchdowns, and he's on the sideline reading that book. So it's one of those things that he does. He said it puts him in the mood. It gets him relaxed, gets him in the moment type of thing. But it's the media trying to whatever. It is what it is. But I'm just saying about why does the wide receiver or the running back, the locker room issues seems to constantly. It seems to be a constant issue with the Steelers.
Yeah,
just from the outside looking in.
No. From the inside looking out.
And that was my feeling about Andy Reid. I'm not talking about his coaching in no way, shape, or form that I think it was his coaching. I just think his players weren't playing for him anymore. They weren't believing in him. They didn't believe the Eagles way, whatever that was back then. And it was just got stagnant. And I think that's where the Steelers are right now, where I think that if I'm on that team and I'm watching Pickens act like that after a couple of years of watching AB and other guys do that, I'm just sitting there as an offensive lineman going, why am I going to do? Why am I putting myself out there? Why is J.J. Watt literally playing at like 82% because he's so beat up and so mangled from a year that he had trying to make plays and carry this team? I mean, that's where you lose the locker room. It's guys like that. So.
Yeah, it is going to be a very, very interesting offseason for the Steelers. Again,
Tomlin said today they're going to blow it up.
The last
or major changes. Excuse me, is what he said.
Yeah. So again, we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
I think they do have to shake some things up on the coaching staff, whether it's Tomlin or elsewhere. And I do think they have to get state of the art. They have to figure out a way to be more productive, much more consistently on the offensive side of the ball. And, free agency, draft, whatever, like that side of the ball needs retooled in a major way before.
And I'm in the boat of Mike Tomlin gets fired or leaves the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's not a free agent for more than 4 days. It's not his coaching. It is anybody. It's just the system, the program, the whole thing. I am a believer in Mike Tomlin would have a job instantly at about 20 different NFL teams. So that's not my. It's not his coaching ability that I'm sort of knocking at. Sorry.
You'd like to make a serious run at a Super Bowl while you still have Cam Hayward and TJ Watt.
What a year Hayward had, dude.
I don't think you're going to have more than another year or two, and that's why I still think there's that sense of urgency here right now with the Steelers. Like it feels like there should be a window. We can argue whether or not that window is actually still open or not, but it should be. And yeah, it just feels like they're not doing what they need to do to get to take a couple of steps, to take a step, let alone the couple of steps that they need to take to get where they want to be.
To go back, Hayward, it was just unbelievable this year.
Yeah,
at his age doing that, my God.
A couple of people asking about Tom Allen's departure. I've seen a lot of talk. Al Golden seems to be, Penn State fans seem to think that is where they're going to go. I mean, never say never, I guess. Goon, I'm saying never on this one. Like, there is no chance. Like, I don't even know that it's worth the phone call. I think it was Joe Lenoski. Somebody was saying on our airwaves, that's worth the phone call. I really don't know that it is. I mean, I guess it never hurts to call, but I don't. The dynamic there with James Franklin and Al Golden, and no fault of either man, but can you imagine Al Golden saying, "Yep, let me come and be part of James Franklin's staff"? And I can't. I mean, James may be willing to. I will say, I think he probably would be okay with. Yeah, if it means we're going to go win a national title, and I think this gets us closer, I think he would be willing to do it. I can't imagine Al Golden even entertaining the call. I don't know.
As the DC, absolutely not. I do not. I mean, this is a guy who lost out on the head job to James Franklin. So, I mean,
he just helped orchestrate a win over Penn State. Like, I just don't see any chance of it happening.
I do not. I think there's other guys out there who, I mean, and then if it is going to be Al Golden, you're going to be paying 2 head coaches' salaries. Because Al Golden is not going to leave Notre Dame for another lateral position at Penn State.
Well, and that's the other one.
We understand it's his alumni, his family lives, or his wife is from the Lock Haven area. I get it. There's a lot of that, but I mean, you're talking about a guy who wants to be a head coach again. That's my feeling, and I have not talked to Al in years.
Well, and Jim Knowles is the other name I've seen in a couple of places. I'm like, first of all, I don't know. Penn State is not, even if it was throwing the same kind of money at Knowles, and maybe it can with every. What is the incentive there for Knowles? You'd have to be throwing substantially more money to make it even a possibility. I think folks are getting a little carried away with what they're thinking Penn State can go do.
Why wouldn't they say Larry Johnson in that situation? Because Jim Knowles is not going to make a lateral move. That would make
more sense to me.
I can see that, but I just don't see Larry Johnson wanting to work under James Franklin. No, now, I'm not insulting Al Golden, nor am I insulting Larry Johnson, but those guys were up for this position in 2014 or 2014. They're not going to come work for a guy who beat them out for the job. That's just, again, unless it's a huge amount of money, and I know Penn State does not want to pay, we would have to be paying those guys head coaching money for them to break off what they're doing right now. Now, you have a guy like Elijah Robinson at Syracuse, who's a football letterman here, younger guy, had a hell of a year up at Syracuse, a unbelievable recruiter. That is a guy I go after right away. You got guys in-house right now. People are saying Dan Connor because he's a great player. I mean, yes, the linebackers played very well this year. He's coaching them, but Dan Connor, I love him to death. He has not been a full-time assistant coach. He has not gone out in the road recruiting, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't. He's an analyst position. He's running a room. He is running the linebacker room. Yes, I get that. But he has not walked into a high school and recruited players at Penn State.
Yeah.
I'm sure he had done it at other schools he had been at. But since he's been at Penn State, he has not been one of the 9 or 10 coaches that are allowed to go out on the road recruiting. He is considered an analyst on paper. He runs the linebacker room, runs the linebacker drills, all that. For somebody to say, oh, he needs to be the DC, again, these are people who aren't really thinking this thing through. You need somebody, we're Penn State, man. Like, you're not going to hire a first-time guy. You're going to go out and hire somebody who has proven, shown, done this on paper. You go down to Oklahoma State, you go down to Oklahoma and say, hey, what who are those defensive coordinators? Guys who have, have a couple years calling plays. I think one of the bad things that Tom Allen did this year was I don't think he was very good at halftime, but he was not good at sideline in-game changes of defenses and updates. Like, again, Notre Dame scoring 24 points on us in the second half the other day. Something should have been done out there to make that not to let that happen. I mean, again, you're not going to stop a cornerback from falling down on the ground, but there's also other things you could have done to stop them. And that was the knock I'd have on Tom Allen. And, I don't even know if it was Tom Allen's decision to leave, if it was Tom Allen's decision, was he said, hey, did James say, hey, you need to look elsewhere? I don't know. I'm hearing rumors that Tom Allen has daughters in the Carolinas. He feels as if he needs to be closer to them, and that's fine. Well, then, bring it out and say that. I mean, just don't leave it out there for that speculation, in my opinion.
Yeah, although I was listening to LeVar this morning on Two Pros and a Cup of Joe, and LeVar's not buying that, and I think I'm with him that, listen, you have limited time as a football coach. It's not like whether you're living close to your adult daughters or not. And again, he's not going to be living like right down the street, presumably. But even then, again, your schedule is your schedule if you're a big-time college football coach. And you also have the means when you do have the downtime. I mean, he can take a quick flight. Something just that doesn't.
I'm right with you. And if that was it, then say it. Bring it out and say that.
Yeah.
Don't leave it to be speculative. Now, again, he has not been hired by Clemson yet. He's not on paper been hired, so maybe he gets hired and he says
going on. There could be health issues either with the daughters or him. I mean, again, nobody knows
Jeff,
for sure what all is going into this.
I was alarmed yesterday. You just said the health issue. How old is Tom Allen?
I have no idea, actually.
53.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say.
He's younger than you, 1 year older than me.
Yeah.
It's tough paper route, man.
Yeah.
That's some living right there. I mean, that's the head coach of Indiana, I guess, that adds some years on some tread, take some tread off your tires, I guess. But I was alarmed that he was only 53 years old. He looks early 60s. I mean, and I know it's a tough position. So, is there a health issue? I don't know. I don't want to speculate there, but again, Elijah Robinson would be a great guy. I know he's a D coordinator. He was D coordinator. I mean, I want somebody here who has D coordinator experience. I love Danny Connor much as anybody. I would love have a shot.
Poindexter
in
a house. Poindexter.
But he is not.
He
doesn't have defensive coordinator background.
But, yeah, I think if you're going in a house, Poindexter is where you would go.
I agree with that too. But I would like to have somebody personally. Unless James talks to Poindexter and says, "Hey, what would you do here? What would you?" And he believes in what Poindexter is. Maybe that's the case. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think again, as Franklin has shown a strong proclivity to do, I think you go out and get the best candidate. Now, if Poindexter interviews and you're come away well, yeah, this is our guy. Cool. I mean, but I think you open it up, see what, and reach out. I mean, Franklin's got enough contacts. I think he obviously will reach out here, make some calls to folks that he thinks would be a good fit. And, the track record's been pretty good there as far as assistant coach hires, certainly on the defensive side. And I think, I think there are a lot of coaches that would be happy to take that call given where Penn State is right now and the talent that's going to be on that defensive side of the ball as well.
Yes.
Going into next season. I've had a few folks mention, including one on our Facebook chat, that Omari Evans is going into the transfer portal. I don't think a terrible surprise. Trey Wallace is the one. Liam Clifford and Trey Wallace both have the option. I don't think either is announced yet. Really, I think if you're Penn State, you'd like those two to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Just the experience they have. Clifford, obviously, this just feels like it should be his home. And I still think Trey Wallace is a guy that can be a playmaker. I don't know about your number one, but I think, with another year, he could be a really good number 2 if you can get a legit number 1. And that to me now is just the overarching question, Goon, is can this program go out and get a clear-cut number 1 that can come in and make an impact? If they can, I think everything else is there. I mean, I don't think there's a weakness. Again, I'm not going to say every area you just have, all-stars across the board. But, man, they're in good shape everywhere. If they can keep Trey Wallace and Liam Clifford and bring in
just to be locker room guys, meeting
1.
room guys, leaders on the field.
And with the other 2 guys that they brought in, the other 2 transfer portal guys, again, I think that the depth then becomes solid there at receiver, but you got to get that number 1, and you got to hope Trey Wallace both progresses and stays healthy, because I think then you suddenly feel, well, I would feel much better about that receiving core next season, but they're 1 player away right now in my mind.
I had somebody come to me and say, well, the problem with playing in the playoffs is you don't have a shot to get transfer portal guys. And I said, you must be crazy. Because you don't think that we had guys visit, you don't think that we had transfer portal guys visiting here the whole month of December? You're crazy. I mean,
listen, it could be a kid that has already committed somewhere else and hasn't played football yet. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a guy that's already in the college ranks. It could be somebody that's finishing up high school here that said he was committing to school X, and it's like, well, you know what? Maybe I'll take my talents to State College instead. So we'll see. I think if Penn State can get a true number 1 that you feel good about, that gets you excited, maybe more importantly, gets Drew Aller in that offensive room excited. To me, everything else is in place here for a legitimate run. And again, there's no guarantees. It's sports. There's all kinds of crazy things can happen. But I think the depth of this program, the talent that's returning, if you can get a true number 1, and that is, again, capital I, capital F, if you can go out and get that player somewhere before August rolls around, I think Penn State is right there with the Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, Georgia, whatever other teams are out there that you would put as legit national title contenders next year. Penn State is certainly one of them, even without, especially if they keep Wallace and Clifford, they're still in the mix, right? I don't want to make it sound like if they don't get that number 1, then forget it. Why would you play 2025? But man, you go in with a clear deficiency, and then Jeff, and a deficiency that's been there for the last 2 years, and that's going to hurt.
We thought this time last year when Fleming.
Yeah.
We thought that we got a one, and it didn't really pan out. So it's like, it's one of those things that's like, you're going after guys, and it's just like recruiting. I'm running through the MAC, and I know there's guys jumping in and jumping out of the portal throughout the year and stuff like that. And then it's a crazy world that we got to go and do that. But, that is the glaring position right now. And then obviously with our guys in the trend, defensive back has become a real issue with us. I think linebacker and defensive line, we're returning a whole bunch that I'm not worried about that position.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the shell guys and wide receivers and defensive backs.
Yeah, I think defensive backs are going to be depth at defensive back, I think, is going to be a concern anyway going into next season. We'll kick that around a little bit when we come back. Talk a little Penn State wrestling as well. I won't be here Thursday because Penn State will wrestle at Nebraska Friday night. We're leaving Thursday afternoon. So we'll talk a little Penn State wrestling in the next segment as well as we continue. It's the Lion Country Kia, Goon and Ironhead.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing and State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Luskin Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
Get up and get going with the Happy Valleys 98.7 The Fox. The Goon and Ironhead.
And we are back here on a Tuesday afternoon in the Valley of Happiness at Quaker Steak and Lube. The all-you-can-eat wing buffet is just getting ready about 23 minutes from now. They'll open that up. Come on down and enjoy all of the great wings. They don't stiff you here either.
No,
these are the
I've told you.
Same wings that they
serve.
serve.
Same wings that they serve all week.
long.
They don't pick and choose when they pull out a dozen wings on a Monday night and say, you know what, there's 2 broken ones there. Save them for the buffet. No, sir. No,
not a
sir.
chance.
So I'm glad we were off the air when we came back on. I was a little surprised there because I was telling Jeff and Alan over here of my disdain for Notre Dame. So it wasn't for radio. Let's just say that my little rant right there. So. Thank God. And we did jump back on pretty quick here. So yes.
Well, so yeah,
good for Notre Dame. Honest to God. Good. I mean, it's a clean program. I get it to them. They are paying. I mean, they're doing the same thing we're doing. They're trying to do it the right way. Yes, they have an arrogance and a flair about them. And Alan's talking about, should they be made to join a conference? And I agree they should, but why would they? They're pocketed $40 million so far in this. Now somebody's been talking about that, and I want to talk about that too.
The ACC and Big Ten are allowing them to be conference members without being conference members, and that's,
yes. So somebody said to me, well, why wouldn't they? Why would they join a conference? They're going to get paid $30 million for being in the conference. Where Penn State, we got to share $30 million 18 ways, and I'm sitting there saying, well, yeah. Well, there's an awful lot of pressure to get in those playoffs every year.
If you don't get
if
there,
you don't get
that's the
there,
thing.
you are screwed for a good 2 years. Your programs are screwed. So, yes, I mean, when you're eating filet mignon, it's great, but there's sometimes you got to eat some chuck wagon. You got to eat some burgers, some Salisbury steaks. So that's the only thing about. I do feel as if they should join the conference, but that's them. I don't know. What do they say? We wanted to join back in the day, and the Big Ten disallowed it. They wouldn't allow it, and now we're begging them to join. And I don't care. Don't join the Big Ten. I don't give a crap. It's just it's the smart decision with where you're at. Location wise, wouldn't it be better playing field hockey and basketball against the Big Ten schools that you have a 1.5 hour trip to rather than going down to Clemson, Florida State, Miami? What's going on there? I mean, there's the travel budget you could
come to the Big Ten where then you only have to travel to UCLA, USC, Washington
every other year.
Never mind.
That's all good.
Never mind.
But
I don't think any of that's long for the offing anyway.
What, the USC, UCLA, all that stuff?
Trips. Yeah. Well, yeah. I think we're going to go back to a regional schedule relatively within the next decade.
Okay. Well, you said you said a decade. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting there saying we've waited since '68 for these freaking playoffs.
Oh, the playoffs aren't going anywhere.
No, but I'm saying I'm saying the
NCAA
NCAA does not change their ways at a very quick way.
No.
If there's more money in it for them and say, hey, you guys can become viable again and actually be something rather than just somebody just collecting money to tell the NCAA that if we change this and change that.
It'll be the conferences that get together.
And the television, who, they're the ones deciding right now. We hide it behind them.
It'll be the conferences. Television's going to be fine, whether it's regional or
but they're the ones who are going to say, let's go. We're doing this. We're going to a national.
I don't think it's TV that's going to say that. I think it's the conferences that are going to say, listen, we got to cut back on the costs. We'll have, a game where we can feature the crossover for you folks with the networks, but we're going to get back to
And again, it's not the football team and the basketball
teams.
team you're worried about. It's the other 31 sports that you have having to do that travel.
Yeah.
Well, you say that.
Yeah. Although even with football, I think it's
if you bring up airport, I'm punching you.
You're going to have the opportunity to save money wherever you can. With the money that's being spent, I think you're going to take advantage.
I would like to see how the money is broken down, personally. Because I know the way it used to be, if you got $10 million as a Penn State team, say we're playing in the Citrus Bowl, you took out your certain expenses that you did to travel there, then the rest went into that little kitty. I don't think that Purdue and the Northwesterns are getting an 18th piece of the $90 million that we had in the Final Four. Am I right in saying that? They're going to take Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon's expenses out of that, and then whatever's left, they kick that in.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's being split evenly then.
What?
The
leftover money.
The money.
Yeah,
Well,
but we have our travel expenses, and we're going to, obviously bloat them a little bit, and
Yeah.
But again, it goes to Notre Dame, and they are pressured into it. So there is a down year at Penn State, and we don't go to the playoff. You still are getting a pretty good check at the end of the year.
Yeah. No, there's some insurance there for sure. That's no question the advantage of being in.
So it's 2025. So you're saying
conference.
2035, the conferences will be done. I hope it's faster than that, but
no, I don't think the conferences are going anywhere.
You know what I mean.
I think they will be divided up by region. So you'll have, just like you have in the NFL, divisions that are theoretically geographically oriented. We'll have to talk about that sometime. What East and South actually
Geography?
mean. Yes, in the NFL. I'll go through that sometime with you. It's not so accurate. But I think it'll be much more accurate.
The Dallas Cowboys in the NFC East
comes to college football. Penn State, again, overall, I think good news. Amari Evans going into the transfer portal. I think that probably makes sense for him and for Penn State. They're looking for. Now they may not get it, but they're looking for something more dynamic, more consistent. And again, maybe Evans will find somewhere. Maybe he'll thrive, and be like, man, see, this could have been. And I hope for his sake that he does. I hope he goes somewhere and has success. Penn State needs to get, again, a clear number one in here to me to feel really good about. All right, yep, this is a program that then I think clearly has everything else in place to make a real run at the national title next year. But again, I think Ohio State's going to have everything that it feels it needs to make a run next year. I think Oregon they are all in. I mean, that university is all in. That community is all in on trying to get a national title now. And Michigan obviously is going all in again here next season. So it's not going to be easy sledding, but I think Penn State is well positioned to make a similar run again next year.
We're talking about Phil Knight, obviously, with being the blank check as being the fan of that Oregon. So I have one quick little story for you. That weekend that Edmund was up here, obviously he's a living god at the University of Washington, and they hate Oregon. And Steve we've been imbibing all day a lot, and he started with the getting louder and louder of his hate and disdain for Phil Knight and every person he talked to, looking at Penn State clones. Why the F are you wearing a Nike shirt? Why the F are you Phil Knight do this? Why are you doing that? Why are you wearing that? Why are you wearing that? And I said, we're sponsored by Nike and this. And he goes, every effing shirt you people buy puts money into Oregon's NIL. And we were just sitting there laughing, this guy's crazy, he's nuts and this and that. But sure as hell, dude, the more I think about it, it's pretty spot on. I mean, it might be just pennies on a dollar, but you are wearing Nike shoes, you're wearing a Nike sweatshirt, a Nike polo. That's putting money in Phil Knight's pocket that goes, in a roundabout way, goes to the Oregon NIL fund. So it was pretty damn funny. And that's when every once in a while, my little brother will send me a message. Phil Knight. Just, oh, man. But it's true. But, yeah, Mr. Phil wants a national title for his Oregon Ducks. And I believe he's 83 right now, so he's pushing.
Yep.
He's pushing hard. There's a blank check there.
Thought they might have it this year.
I can't believe what Ohio State did to them, Jeff. I'm still in awe a little bit.
Yeah. What their defensive line did in that game is one of the most impressive things, maybe the most impressive thing I've seen this college football.
And you're traveling Thursday, so I will get you to give me a little what do you think about the national championship game, but I'm watching our D-line dismantle Notre Dame's offensive line. And yes, they had two guys that are out, and they are out for this game.
Yeah, but once those two guys went out, that's when Notre Dame bowed up. Like that it was just weird. Penn State dominated when the starters were in there. They didn't dominate when the backups came in, which I'm still scratching my head over. But anyways,
I got you. Yeah, but it's going to be pretty. My opinion is interested to see what Ohio State's D-line does in that Notre Dame O-line.
Well, I think that's why I just have a really hard time seeing how Notre Dame wins that game. I just think there's such a mismatch there at the line of scrimmage with the way Ohio State is playing right now. And I know Notre Dame is a resilient team. I'm not saying there's
very resilient.
No
that's a great word for them.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's no chance or that I'd be absolutely floored if Notre Dame won. But man, Ohio State's a prohibitive favorite for a reason. And I'm
watching that game and I'm sitting there. I was like, where the hell's Sawyer at? He hasn't done nothing about a little bit through the game. And I'm like, oh, there he is. Oh, there he is again. Oh, there he is again.
Yeah. Real quickly, Penn State Wrestling, of course, taking on Nebraska Friday night. Nebraska will be Penn State's best test by a good bit to date this season. Nebraska's just got a really good team up and down the lineup. That being said, I was talking with a guy out in Iowa, and I'm actually going to do a show there the morning after the Penn State Iowa dual meet on January 31st, so that's Saturday morning. But I was talking with one of the co-hosts, and he's like, we have a little bit of a in-house wager going on how many individual bouts we think Penn State might lose this entire season. And he was going from here on out. He put it at 8. I said, well, I think that's about right, because I'm kind of wondering whether they can get through the entire dual meet season with not losing 10 total bouts through that dual season. And again, they put the over-under at 8. They've lost 3 so far, but the starters have only lost 2 bouts.
Yes.
Total. That's tournaments and dual meets combined to this point in the season, which is just absurd. They're 92-2. The 10 starters are to this stage in the season.
What do you equate this? Who is the equivalent to what we're seeing right? I mean, you tell me.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, just in sports in general. 27 Yankees.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
It is, because there's just no weakness. And I mean, again, I've been saying from before the season started, if they stay healthy, Penn State has 10 legit national title contenders. Now, I'm not predicting 10 national champs. I'm not predicting 10 in the finals, anything like that. But
just 7.
I'm telling you, in any individual bout you can name out there, I think Penn State has a chance. Well, Gable Steveson, I mean, he's everything ever. Yeah, I think Ray Kirkfleet has a chance. Well, Braden Davis is only ranked 5th. Yeah, I think he's got a chance against every one of the 4 guys above him. I think Bo Bartlett is right there with the Liras and Mendez. Up and down the line. There's not a matchup there. And again, I'm not saying Penn State is going to win all of these. I'm not saying Penn State will be favored in all of these. Obviously, that's not the case. I'm just telling you, there's not a single bout out there where you're like, I mean, they could win, but come on. I mean, realistically, I'm saying in any bout you could name, I think Penn State has a realistic shot of winning that bout. That has never happened in the sport of college wrestling, where you have all 10 starters, legitimately right there with the best in the country. I don't know. Maybe the 27 Yankees. I don't know. Maybe I don't know, because I'm trying to think of, even in basketball.
So I'm saying Michael Jordan's 90. Those teams, but they didn't have the greatest center. No,
right. That's what I'm saying. I really don't know what the comparison would be. In terms of just, it would be like having, an All-American, like on the football field. It would be, probably the equivalent of having 10 All-Americans, and then the rest of your guys being all Big Ten, at least first, second, or third team, all Big Ten, every starting position.
Yeah.
Well,
so why they consider the greatest offense is the 2001 Miami Hurricanes football team. I think they had 17, I think 17 first-round picks on that team. Now, that spanned over a 5 year, not just playing that year, but it spanned. But, geez, I don't know. I really don't know if there's a comparison to what this team is. Again, what got me, and for those who aren't wrestling fans, who were, just like me, the amount of points you can win in a dual match is what, Jeff?
Well, 60 is the maximum.
And Penn State has crossed 50 3 times.
Yeah. Well, just the fact that you have 4 shutouts and 7 dual meets. And listen, Nebraska's got a very good team. And I think, there's probably 3, and upset's going to happen when somebody can get caught. So I don't want to say that there's no chance
they're walking home
more than 3. But there are 3, in my mind, kind of toss-up bouts in this dual meet on Friday night. I think Penn State is fairly substantial favorite in the other 7 bouts. And again, Nebraska's got a very balanced team and a very good team. I mean, this is a team that I think can make a real run at a top 3 finish if they can stay healthy and have a good NCAA tournament. They have got good balance in the lineup, but they have some top end firepower. Now, whether Brock Hardy and Ridge Lovett and Silas Allred can all put it together and get on the podium, that's obviously going to be the name of the game here, and it'll be fun to see. And I think I think this will be a really good test for Penn State. The dual meet score might not be indicative of how good this dual meet actually is on Friday night, but I think it will be. We're going to get a good test for Luke Lillidahl, who remains number 12 in the internet rankings this week. And listen, I get it; it doesn't really matter at this stage of the season. I'm just telling you, that's ridiculous. Like. The idea that there are 11 guys better than Luke Lillidahl this season is absurd. And it doesn't matter. He'll have a chance to prove it. I get it. And he'll be where he should be at the end of the season. And it's fine. It's just, to me, it makes the rankings look bad because I don't think there's anybody that's following the sport that doesn't think he's a top 5 or 6.
Is there any kind of anti-Penn State bias because of just like,
no,
they just
no, it's not that. Intermat has been pretty consistent until freshmen, regardless of the credentials they come in with, until freshmen knock off those upper echelon guys. And Lillidahl just hasn't wrestled more than one of them yet this season, so he just hasn't had the chance. It's not an anti-Penn State thing. It's just I wouldn't necessarily term it anti-freshman. It's just they're not willing to give freshmen their due until they prove themselves, and it's fine. It's not an unreasonable take. It's just, again, in the case of Lillidahl, number 12 ranking, to me, it's just silly because he's, again, in my mind, clearly, and again, we'll find out Friday night. I think Caleb Smith is ranked 6th or 7th, and so he'll have that chance to prove and jump up substantially in the rankings. And then, Bo Bartlett's going to get a good test. I think Bartlett is. I think you're going to see him kind of take that next step here in the final stretch of his career and kind of give himself a real chance here to go out and win the national title. And again, there's 3 elite guys there. In my mind, it's a toss-up. I've talked to some other Penn State fans that are convinced the other 2 are a little ahead of Bo, and that's fair. That's not an unreasonable position either. Mendez has won the last 2 meetings with him, and Alira is I think, rightfully the top-ranked wrestler in the country there. So it's not an unfair take to think those 2 are better. I just, on any given day, I think Bartlett is more than capable of beating either or both of those guys. So, but this will be another important match for him on Friday night. And then I think just a little bit of a contrast of styles and more so body types when Kasak goes here on Friday night. So I think, again, Penn State's going to get some good tests and has a chance to kind of further solidify the distance that maybe is there between the Nittany Lions and the rest of college wrestling this season. Folks, enjoy the playoffs. I won't be here.
Beat it, Ironhead.
Enjoy the national championship game. Is that even possible? It's Ohio State.
Let's talk about it.
I can't.
Birds first.
Again, Goon will be back with you on Thursday. I'll be back with you next Tuesday. Until then, be good and be safe.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food. Get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing and State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
WFXS, Hunting Gas.
Your sports radio!
Broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA's Sports Authority, WFXS America.
98.7 The Fox State College. The Goon and